Picture this moment. You are at a social gathering. Maybe it's a wedding, maybe a holiday dinner, maybe just a casual reunion after years apart. You're looking good, feeling confident, perhaps accomplishing things that truly matter to you, living life on your own terms. Then, it happens. The inevitable, insidious, often ambushed question, delivered with a smile that barely disguises a judgmental assessment, or worse, a hint of pity. So, when are you getting married? It lands not as a question of romantic curiosity, but as a small, calculated, explosive device aimed directly at your autonomy. You might dismiss it as casual social scripting, a relic of archaic manners, or simply the thoughtless query of a relative who ran out of small talk 10 minutes ago. You laugh it off, give a vague answer, and change the subject, feeling mildly annoyed that your entire existence was just reduced to a checklist item on a societal to-do list. But Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher who taught us to wield a hammer against false idols, would not dismiss it so lightly. He would look past your mild annoyance and see a terrifying truth. He would see not a question, but a weapon of mass psychological conformity. Not idle chatter, but the collective voice of a civilization demanding that you surrender your freedom and join the herd. When someone asks you when you are getting married, they are not asking about your happiness, your love life, or your future stability. They are asking about their own security. Nietzsche understood something fundamental about human nature. We are inherently afraid of genuine, untethered freedom. Freedom is chaotic. It demands constant, exhausting self-creation and offers absolutely no guarantees, either from God or from the state. This existential terror is profound, and human society has built elaborate structures, powerful institutions, and compelling narratives to shield us from confronting it. Marriage, in the conventional, expected, and culturally mandated sense, is one of humanity's most powerful and ancient antidotes to this terrifying freedom. It is a structure. It is a timeline. It is a pre-approved, ready-made identity that you can adopt instantly. It gives the appearance of profound purpose when true. Self-discovered purpose is too challenging, too rare, or too painful to forge alone. When the collective society, your family, your friends, your co-workers, demands you marry, it is not primarily celebrating love. It is celebrating the collective reduction of chaos. It is the ritualistic confirmation that you, too, have accepted the burden of shared conventionality. The question, when are you getting married, is therefore a subtle act of social self-defense on the part of the asker. The married person, having accepted the massive, terrifying commitment of tying their existence, their finances, their future, and their legal fate to another human being, needs constant reassurance that this weighty choice was necessary and correct. They need the unmarried person, the unbound, the free agent, the individual still capable of radical, life-altering pivots, to join the fold, to validate the immense weight of the constraints they have chosen to bear. Your continued state of unbound potential stands as a silent, terrifying critique of their settled life. You are a living what-if, an embodiment of the path of radical self-determination that they chose to forego for comfort and predictability. This is why the question comes loaded with passive aggression, anxiety, or thinly veiled judgment. It is never innocent. It is always an imposition, a test of your loyalty to the status quo. The profound nature of this social interrogation rings true regardless of culture or geography. Before we dissect the terror behind this simple query, tell me, where are you tuning in from? What city on this planet is currently dealing with this same relentless pressure to conform? Share your city name in the comments. It is crucial we understand the universality of this philosophical trap that Nietzsche diagnosed over a century ago. The deeper problem, as Nietzsche saw it, is that most people live life not by consciously choosing and creating their own values, but by passively adopting pre-approved cultural scripts handed down by institutions they never questioned. They fear the existential void, the terrifying, dizzying realization that there is no inherent, divine meaning to life other than the meaning they must strain and struggle to create themselves. The contractual bond of marriage, with its dense network of legal, social, financial, and familial obligations, is a spectacularly effective distraction from the void. It grants immediate, structural meaning. It assigns you a role: spouse, partner, co-signer, eventual parent. It dictates your next 10 years of major decisions, from housing to retirement planning. It is a ready-made narrative into which you simply insert yourself. The unmarried individual, especially the one who is successful, fulfilled, and content, embodies the terrifying alternative, a life where every morning requires a conscious, sovereign decision about purpose, direction, and value. And this highly individualized existence is simply unbearable to the majority who have abdicated that responsibility. They cannot tolerate the possibility that such a free life is not only possible but desirable, let alone that it might be superior to the path they chose. If you can be happy, fulfilled, and achieve greatness without the sacred, conventional seal of marriage, then their own weighty compromise suddenly seems less necessary, less heroic, and perhaps even foolishly restrictive. They feel a powerful, unconscious compulsion to pull you into the boat, to prove that the boat, their boat, is the only safe place to be. They ask, "When are you getting married?" Because they desperately need the answer to be soon, thereby confirming that their sacrifice of freedom was the only rational path. Nietzsche, ever the anti-romantic and the champion of self-overcoming, was not against profound transformative love. He was against the mediocre institution designed to contain it, sterilize it, and reduce it to a predictable financial and social contract. He saw the conventional rush to the altar as a spectacular failure of courage and often a profound failure of self-respect. People marry not out of genuine strength, but often out of convenience, fear of solitude, or a desperate need to divide the massive psychological burden of existence, hoping to find a perpetual witness to their life. True marriage, for Nietzsche, would be a rare and almost superhuman act, the forging of two wills into a single, higher will, aimed at creating something more, a shared purpose, an intellectual progeny, a philosophical vision, that neither partner could achieve in isolation. He wrote that the best marriages are those rooted not in a shared ecstasy, but in a shared long-term will to create. But the modern persistent question, "When are you getting married?" ignores this heroic ideal entirely. It is a cheap, conventional inquiry aimed only at maintaining the comfort of the existing social architecture. It is the mob checking to ensure you haven't secretly defected to the difficult country of profound self-reliance. It is the spiritual police questioning your passport to conventional society. And the irony is devastating. The person asking this question is almost never truly happy with your answer. If you say, "Never, I have a higher calling," they view you with a mixture of pity and fear, branding you as arrogant or dangerously lost. If you say, "I am focused on my life's work, and the partnership must align with my highest creative goals," they view you as evasive, confusing the spiritual ascent with simple ambition. If you say, "In 6 months," they sigh in audible relief because another soul has been safely accounted for, confirming their reality. Your response, whatever it is, exposes the true weakness of their position. They have prioritized the container, the social institution, over the true content, the self and its purpose. They have traded the terrifying, lonely ascent toward the mountain of self-creation for the comfortable, warm mediocrity of the valley crowd. And they cannot forgive you for daring to stand on the peak, breathing the thinner air of freedom. This interaction is the core of Nietzsche's philosophy, applied to the personal sphere. The question is a psychological litmus test. Do you choose the easy life, the conventional comfort, the warm blanket of shared delusion, or do you choose the hard path of self-ownership and sovereign creation? The real reason everyone asks, "When are you getting married?" is not that they care about your wedding day, your registry, or your future children. It is because they care desperately about the stability of their own compromised choices. They are using you as a social and psychological anchor to prevent their own ship from drifting into the uncomfortable, challenging waters of genuine existential freedom. They demand conformity to justify their compromise. They seek to reduce the universe of possibilities so that their own restricted life choices feel inevitable and correct. This demand for uniformity, this relentless social pressure, is precisely what Nietzsche identified as herd morality, the morality of the weak, the fearful, and those who avoid confronting the true depths of their own being. When they ask about your marriage, they are attempting to exert their weak will over your strong will, compelling you to join the collective delusion simply so they can sleep easier, knowing the world is predictable. This perspective is radical, confronting the very foundation of social comfort and the polite delusions we use to navigate daily life. We are committed to exposing the hidden truths that control our decisions and shape our psychological world. If this deep dive into Nietzsche's thought has forced you to reconsider the weight of seemingly simple questions, then demonstrate your allegiance to intellectual honesty and the pursuit of truth. Drop a comment right now, suggesting the perfect philosophically resonant phrase the unmarried should use to shut down this conformity pressure instantly. Share that phrase and contribute to this intellectual arsenal, because true power comes from truth, and we build that truth together. It is time to commit to understanding the deep forces that shape our decisions. Secure your place in this ongoing conversation by hitting the subscribe button and activating notifications. You deserve continuous access to the uncomfortable truths that unlock real strength and self-sovereignty. Our next investigation will peel back the mask of another massive societal deception, the one that keeps us perpetually searching for external validation instead of internalizing true authority. It is the crucial second piece of the puzzle that explains why so many smart people sabotage their own success by ceding their judgment to the expectations of others. Do not miss this essential next step in mastering self-sovereignty. The ultimate fear of the crowd is not failure. It is deviation. It is the fear that someone else, standing outside the safe boundary of expectation, might find a happiness or a power that the crowd, bound by its own sacrifices, can no longer access. This is the philosophical bedrock upon which the endlessly frustrating question, "When are you getting married?" is built. It is not merely a social inconvenience, it is an interrogation by the spirit of the herd. When we discuss the appearance of strength versus its substance, we were speaking of Machiavelli. Now we peel back the veil of social custom and find a far more terrifying figure waiting beneath: Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche understood that morality and social expectation are rarely tools for human elevation. They are often instruments of oppression, wielded by the weak against the strong. The question of marriage in this context is the perfect, polite, and devastating weapon of the mediocre. It is the social pressure exerted not by genuine love or concern, but by a collective psychological deficiency. Before we descend further into this chilling analysis of social physics, consider this. The sheer universality of this experience suggests a profound truth about modern man. Every corner of the globe, every culture wrestling with modernity, seems to have its own version of this existential timeline query. You recognize this pressure, you feel its weight, and that connection transcends geography. Tell me, which city are you watching this from right now? Which patch of this earth is feeling the weight of this cultural scrutiny as we speak? Let the shared burden unify us in this analysis. The first catastrophic mistake the individual makes when confronted with the marriage question is to answer it literally. The person being interrogated, the subject of the inquiry, thinks the question is about logistics, about timing, about finding the right partner. But the question is never about those things. The question is a demand for obedience. It is the herd checking if the errant sheep is still within the boundaries of the pasture. The individual who feels this pressure is being asked implicitly to prove that their life choices validate the life choices of the questioner. If the single person is perfectly happy, successful, and fulfilled outside the institution of traditional marriage, what does that say about the life the questioner has constructed within it? This brings us to the core mechanism driving this relentless social query: resentment. This is Nietzsche's concept describing a deep-seated psychological condition where weakness, inability, and frustration are sublimated into a moral system that condemns the qualities they themselves lack. The man who cannot achieve greatness declares greatness to be arrogant. The person who cannot enjoy freedom declares freedom to be irresponsible. In the case of the perpetual marriage query, resentment operates on the concept of life investment. The individual who has already chosen the conventional path, the mortgage, the spouse, the children, the accumulated compromises, has sunk their capital into a specific vision of happiness. They have traded freedom for stability, potential for certainty. When they see a peer who retains that untapped potential, that intoxicating freedom, the stability they paid so dearly for suddenly feels like a cage. Their anxiety needs validation. Their sacrifices demand justification. Therefore, when the questioner asks, "When are you getting married?" they are secretly asking, "Did I make the right choice? Is my comfortable mediocrity the only valid form of human existence? Are you going to prove my compromises were unnecessary?" They are not looking for an answer. They are looking for surrender. They are seeking confirmation that the path of the herd is the only moral, sensible, and ultimately successful path. The pressure exerted is thus not a product of malice, but a product of moral cowardice. The questioner often lacks the internal strength to bear the burden of their own choices without external validation. If you, the individual, can thrive outside their system, their entire scaffolding of self-worth threatens to collapse. They are not trying to help you. They are trying to save themselves from the terrifying realization that they settled too soon or settled too deeply. This societal demand for conformity is the breeding ground for what Nietzsche called the last man, der letzte Mensch. The last man is the inevitable product of modern complacency, the individual obsessed with petty, measurable happiness, comfort, security, mild pleasures, and the avoidance of any profound suffering or risk. They blink and say, "We have invented happiness." The question of marriage is the last man's mechanism for multiplying its own kind. The goal of the question is to bring the aspiring individual down to the level of the comfortably settled. When society pressures you to marry, to buy the house, to settle into the predictable rhythm, it is asking you to abandon the hazardous, uncertain path of self-overcoming, the path toward the Übermensch, and embrace the shallow safety of the communal grave. The collective does not want heroes, it wants citizens who pay their taxes and conform to the demographic profile. The individual who delays marriage, who retains their solitude and their flexibility, is a living, breathing accusation against the triviality of the last man's happiness. Think about the language of the inquiry. It is always framed as an inevitability. It is never, "Are you going to get married?" but "When are you getting married?" The premise is already settled. Only the timeline remains open for discussion. This subtle linguistic trick eradicates the possibility of radical choice. It eliminates the concept of the individual deciding their own values, their own definitions of success, or their own trajectory of existence. The world, according to the herd, operates on a universal template, and any deviation is seen not as innovation, but as pathology. The danger of engaging with this pressure defensively is that the individual begins to internalize the terms of the debate. They start justifying their life choices. "I'm waiting for the right person. I'm focused on my career right now. It's too expensive." By offering these justifications, the individual accepts the fundamental premise that marriage is the necessary destination, and their current state is merely a temporary deviation, a logistical delay. This act of justification is a subtle surrender to the herd's standard of value. Nietzsche, were he in the room, would not advise justification. He would advise disdain, not aggressive disdain, but the quiet, assured rejection of their terms entirely. The individual must recognize that the conversation is not about their romantic life, it is about their will to power. Are they willing to assert their own reality, their own values against the massive passive force of social expectation? Or will they buckle under the weight of a million small, polite inquiries? The person who succumbs to the pressure does so because they prioritize external appearance over internal reality. They marry to silence the questions, to check the box, to finally be allowed to sit at the conventional adult table without being scrutinized. But silencing the critics rarely means satisfying the self. This forced conformity leads to marriages of convenience and social ease, not unions of authentic passion or profound spiritual partnership. The tragic irony is that the individual, in seeking to escape the pressure of the herd, willingly throws themselves into a constraint far more binding and far less fulfilling than the temporary isolation of being single. Furthermore, this pressure is a pervasive cultural control mechanism. The marriage question is the most visible tip of a massive iceberg of societal timelines. When are you buying a house? When are you having children? Why don't you have a permanent job? Why are you still traveling? Every single one of these questions is the same fundamental philosophical attack, a demand for the individual to trade the dangerous potential of becoming something new for the safe security of becoming something known. Nietzsche challenged us to live dangerously, to create our own values on the precipice of risk. The modern individual, perpetually questioned about their marital status, is being asked to retreat from the cliff edge and join the comfortable, flat plains where nothing exciting or truly difficult can ever happen. They are asking you to fear the storm of self-discovery and embrace the eternal sunshine of triviality. The true revolutionary act in the face of this interrogation is the assertion of self-mastery. It requires the deep, unapologetic commitment to the notion that your life's timeline your definition of success, and your path to fulfillment are sovereign and non-negotiable. This is the difference between living by reaction and living by creation. The person who lives by reaction spends their time defending their current status against the herd. The person who lives by creation simply builds their cathedral, ignoring the small, nervous chatter of those building sheds nearby. We must understand that the herd uses the question of marriage to try and equalize the psychological playing field. If the individual is free, the herd is trapped. If the individual is flourishing alone, the herd's coupled dependence seems pathetic. The pressure is an attempt to redistribute emotional risk. By forcing the single person into the same constraints, the herd ensures that the psychological risks, the potential for heartbreak, divorce, financial entanglement, are shared, and thus the unique spiritual danger of radical freedom is neutralized. The wisdom of Nietzsche teaches us that we must be suspicious of any universally accepted idea of goodness or normalcy, because those ideas are almost always created by the mediocre to contain the magnificent. The question, "When are you getting married?" is often a question born of weakness, cloaked in the guise of genuine care. It is a subtle invitation to abandon the high mountain path of self-reliance for the crowded valley road of conformity. The critical insight, which Part 3 will fully explore, is how to transcend this pressure entirely, how to move beyond the orbit of the herd's judgment. But for now, recognize the nature of the beast. Recognize that the source of the question is often resentment and fear. The individual under scrutiny must learn to view the questioner not with defensive anxiety, but with profound psychological pity. The questioner is often a slave to a timeline they never truly chose, trapped by a contract they signed to appease others, desperately hoping that the individual will join them in their comfortable, trivial cage. To stand firm against this inquiry is to assert the will to power over the external definitions of success. It is to declare that life is not a checklist provided by society, but an artwork created by the self. Your refusal to rush, your insistence on authentic choice, your patience in waiting for a partnership that elevates rather than diminishes, these are not delays. They are acts of profound philosophical strength. They demonstrate a courage that the last man, obsessed with his small comforts, can never truly possess. The single greatest offense you can commit against the spirit of the herd is to be visibly, unashamedly happy outside of their predefined structure. That happiness is a revolutionary banner. The moment you internalize this Nietzschean perspective, the weight of the question shifts. It ceases to be a burden on you and becomes a spotlight illuminating the deep anxious need of the person asking it. We are navigating profound psychological territory, analyzing the greatest philosophical challenges of modern existence through the simplest social interaction. If this analysis of social pressure and resentment resonated with your own experience, you must let us know. You will solidify this lesson by articulating your commitment to self-sovereignty. Write this exact sentence in the comments below. Eu sou o meu próprio valor. Eu recuso a felicidade do rebanho. I am my own value. I refuse the happiness of the herd. You feel the magnetic connection between these insights and your own life path. You know that subscribing to this channel will ensure you continue receiving the philosophical tools necessary for true personal mastery. You realize that hitting the like button affirms your rejection of mediocrity and supports the creation of content that challenges the consensus. You secure your access to this unfiltered truth by acting now. And know this: while we have diagnosed the societal disease in this second part, the next and final segment of this series offers the radical cure. We will move beyond merely identifying the pressure and reveal the path of transcendence. You will discover the practical blueprint for living beyond the judgment of the last man, the ultimate strategy for self-creation that Nietzsche championed. You understand that you must not miss the conclusion of this vital philosophical journey. The next step toward authentic power awaits you. Forget the wedding planners, the diamond rings, and the promise of a collective social sigh of relief. The true crime of the marriage question is not the pressure it puts on your finances or your timeline. It is the philosophical violence it does to your soul. This persistent query, "When are you getting married?" is not a wish for your happiness. It is a spiritual interrogation designed to check if you have submitted to the consensus, if you have finally agreed to be mediocre. It is the final checkpoint before you are granted the societal certification of normalcy. And Nietzsche regarded normalcy as the greatest impediment to greatness. This pressure is universal. Whether you are living in a fast-paced metropolis where anonymity shields you slightly, or a quiet, traditional town where every neighbor acts as a moral monitor, the whispers of the herd are the same. It is a universal symphony of conformity, played on the strings of guilt and expectation. Tell me right now, as you internalize this heavy existential truth, as you feel the weight of this moral judgment, what city, what corner of the world are you listening from? Let us recognize the vastness of this silent pressure we are all fighting, this global tyranny of the average. We arrive now at the climax of Nietzsche's ultimate critique. The final, definitive reason everyone asks that question is rooted in the fear that your freedom critiques their sacrifice. The individual who has chosen the path of conventional marriage, the individual who has embraced the security of the herd, has often done so not out of overflowing affirmation for their partner, but out of a deep, shivering fear of isolation and the crushing labor of self-creation. They have traded the possibility of heroic solitude for the certainty of shared disappointment. And your continued hesitation, your philosophical delay, your refusal to sign the contract of the last man, this delay is a direct, agonizing critique of their life choices. Your freedom proves that the path they chose was optional, not necessary. Your singular existence suggests that a life of uncompromised meaning is possible, and they cannot tolerate that possibility because it reveals their own cowardice. The question, therefore, is not an inquiry. It is a demand for solidarity in their compromise. They need you to join the ranks of the domesticated so they can feel less alone in their cage. Nietzsche would say that the act of asking when is an unconscious expression of resentment. It is the weak trying to poison the well for the strong. Having found their own meaning lacking, having failed to create their own values, they seek to impose the necessity of their values upon you. They are leveling the philosophical playing field by demanding that the exceptional individual submit to the rule designed for the mediocre. Their marriage is merely the visible sign of their submission to a pre-approved script, and they require your public performance of the same script to validate their own performance. The truly terrifying insight of Nietzsche is that when you accept the herd's timeline, when you marry not because you have transcended the need for societal approval, but because you are tired of fighting the pressure, you are committing a profound act of spiritual suicide. You are signing what is essentially a resignation letter from the self. You are choosing a destiny that you cannot bear to relive. Consider the ultimate test of all your decisions, the heaviest weight you can imagine, the concept of eternal recurrence. Imagine if a demon crept after you in your loneliest solitude and said, "This life as you now live it and have lived it, you will have to live once more and innumerable times more, and there will be nothing new in it. But every pain and every joy and every thought and sigh and everything unutterably small or great in your life will have to return to you, all in the same succession and sequence." If upon hearing this you were to throw yourself down and gnash your teeth and curse the demon, it means you have failed the test. Your life, lived according to the values of others, is something you cannot bear. But if you were to respond with, "You are a god and never have I heard anything more divine," then you have created a life affirmed in every moment. The question, "When are you getting married?" forces you to confront the eternal recurrence test. If your answer is driven by social pressure, fear of loneliness, or the desire to silence the chorus of conformity, then your decision is not an affirmation, but a negation of your life. You are creating a future you would curse the demon for repeating. The truly free person, the one aspiring to the Übermensch, understands that every major life choice must be weighed against this cosmic ledger. Is this choice so beautiful, so essential to my self-created meaning that I would joyously repeat it forever? For Nietzsche, the problem is not marriage itself. He recognized that for the exceptional few, a union could be a sublime act, a sharing of mutual purpose that elevates both individuals to higher forms of self-mastery. He called this a nuptial of the spirit, a bridge to the Übermensch. But the conventional marriage, the one driven by the calendar, the age expectation, the familial duty, that is merely the final chapter in the story of the last man. It is a choice predicated on comfort, stability, and the avoidance of spiritual danger. The last man blinks. He finds happiness in minor conveniences and declares, "We invented happiness." He wants a cozy existence, a smooth life without hard edges. And your unmarried status, your persistent individuality, is an inconvenient sharp edge in their smooth world. The person who understands this pressure does not waste time debating wedding budgets or guest lists. They understand that the only true marriage is the one to themselves, the fierce and unyielding affirmation of their own fate, which Nietzsche termed amor fati, love of fate. This is the metaphysical marriage that precedes all others. It means not merely enduring what happens to you, but loving it, because you recognize that every trauma, every challenge, every solitude was necessary to create the person you are becoming. When you have married your fate, when you have created your own values and committed to the trajectory of your own destiny, the question, "When are you getting married?" loses all its sting. It becomes irrelevant, a meaningless noise made by the crowd. The answer is no longer a date on a calendar, but the continuous demonstration of your self-mastery. The courage required to live outside the timeline of the herd is the very courage that defines the philosophical hero. It is the courage to be judged, the strength to be misunderstood, and the resolve to remain alone until you find companionship that elevates your trajectory, rather than merely sharing the weight of mediocrity. You must be willing to accept the role of the outsider, the odd one out at every dinner party, the subject of whispered conversations, because the alternative is to forfeit your sovereignty for the sake of quiet acceptance. The society that asks you when is not asking about your romantic life. It is asking if you have paid the ultimate philosophical tax, conformity. They ask because they have already paid it. They ask because they desperately need proof that the tax was fair. Your silence, your unwavering focus on self-creation, is the only philosophical retort that matters. You must stop viewing this question as a social obligation and start seeing it as a moral test. Every time someone asks, you are presented with an opportunity. You can explain yourself, you can apologize for your timeline, or you can simply proceed with such palpable, self-created purpose that the question itself becomes hollow. The path forward, illuminated by the cold, clear light of Nietzsche, is simple but brutal. Build a life of such undeniable, self-affirmed meaning that the questions of the crowd cannot even reach you. Create a destiny so unique and so compelling that anyone who asks, "When are you getting married?" is immediately revealed to be speaking from a place of limited vision, incapable of grasping the scope of your personal world. The herd cannot understand a life that is measured in terms of self-overcoming, of continuous creation, rather than milestones established by convention. They only see the milestones they recognize: graduation, job, marriage, children, retirement. When you disrupt that chronology, you disrupt their entire moral cosmos. Your refusal to play by their rules forces them to confront the possibility that their rules are arbitrary. Therefore, the final undeniable reason for their questioning is the profound, subconscious realization that they have failed the most important task of existence: to become who they are. They have outsourced their meaning, borrowed their values, and now they desperately require you to perform the same act of spiritual outsourcing, to confirm that their life was a necessary sacrifice, not a colossal oversight. Do not give them that comfort. The ultimate conclusion is this: your liberation demands that you redefine the concept of a life partner. Your life partner must first be your fate, your highest ideal, your self-mastery. Only when the relationship to the self is complete can any external relationship be anything more than mutual neediness. If you have recognized the profound truth that your current path is a defiance of the crowd, if you now understand that your single existence is a statement of philosophical independence, it is time to solidify that conviction. I demand your commitment. You must declare your philosophical independence right now. Below in the comments, write this exact phrase: "My timeline is my own." This is not just a comment. It is a vow to yourself, a public declaration of your sovereignty that reinforces your commitment to self-created values. We are building a community of philosophical defiance, and your declaration locks in your position. The power of this insight is immense, and you must internalize it. Do not allow this moment of realization to dissipate. Lock in your commitment to truth. Subscribe to this channel immediately. Your future demands that you surround yourself with ideas that sharpen your resolve, not dull your ambition. Hit the like button to signal that you prioritize the demanding clarity of truth over comfortable illusions. The path of the heroic life requires continuous struggle and continuous self-overcoming. You have just mastered the Nietzschean critique of societal pressure, but the journey continues. There are dark psychological forces manipulating your ambition and controlling your daily actions, forces far more subtle than social pressure. Join us next time as we unmask the hidden enemy within your own mind, the insidious structure that prevents 99% of people from ever achieving true self-mastery. You must understand this mechanism before you can defeat it. See you in the next philosophical battle.